I'm Ashton Addison from Blockwest Capital for Investment Pitch Media, and today on the Crypto Coin Show, we have Solo Ceesay, CEO and co-founder of Calaxy. Solo, welcome to the show, and it's great to have Calaxy back once again.
Appreciate you for having me. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. I know there's a lot of exciting news from yourself and from Calaxy, and we did speak with Calaxy on the show last year, and I know a lot has happened since then. So there's so much to dive into, but I'd love to kick off our interview with just a little bit of intro from you and yourself and your newly appointed role, and then we'll dive into everything Calaxy.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Solo Ceesay, co-founder and now CEO of Calaxy app and Calaxy Inc. So Spencer Dinwiddie of the Dallas Mavericks is my co-founder, and he's been playing great down there. Just a shout out to him down there. But we've been super excited about the journey that we've had. We announced the financing that we had last year, where we raised $7.5 million on seed funding. We just announced another round led by the HWAR Foundation and Animoca Brands of a strategic financing round that was done up of a grant from the foundation as well as the token sale that we did. And we raised a total of $26 million. And so we're super excited to head into the end of the year and really this latter half of the year, roll out this product and kind of start scoring some points on the board, all puns intended.
Amazing. I love it, Solo. And congratulations on the new role and on the financing as well. I'd love to dive into that in a little bit here. But for those who didn't see our first interview, and I'd love to just get an overview of Calaxy and what's your team been working on, the vision and what you're really building here.
Yeah, absolutely. So our vision started nearly 3 years ago. I was an investment banker at a bulge bracket bank, and I focused on securitization. And so things like residential mortgage-backed securities, commercial mortgage-backed securities, and those types of securitized products are where I focused. And basically, Spencer had the brilliant idea of wanting to tokenize his contract. So a couple of years ago, and so my brother at the time, Spencer and him are really close. That's one of his best friends. Told me like, hey, this job that you do on a day-to-day basis makes no sense to me. What Spencer has been talking about with his NBA contract and all of that makes equally no sense to me. You guys should, chat and try and make something of this, right? And so originally it was just, what is the premise of blockchain? How is that helpful? Understanding securitization and kind of finding the point of inflection or the common area to create something like the contract. And so we were able to securitize this contract, and he became the first player to do so. And that was kind of the genesis point of content, or Calaxy as it currently is now, right? Like the idea is about unlocking trapped liquidity. And so for something like a traditional asset, like an NBA contract, we thought that, there is a even bigger opportunity to unlock trapped liquidity in the gig economy or the creator economy. So you've seen the rise of platforms like Patreon, Cameo, OnlyFans, these creator-centric platforms built on monetization. We essentially wanted to take that utility and bring it to the blockchain. And so Calaxy is a social token platform with real-world utility. And these tokens have real-world access similar to what has already been validated in the Web2 universe. And so we're super excited with all the creators that we have and our access to them to really roll out an impactful Web3 product that is focused on the user experience first and foremost.
Incredible. I love that story. And who would have thought that, making that connection, all of a sudden you're creating a whole new Web3 platform to hopefully help athletes, artists, and creators around the world really get more value from the value that they're actually contributing, right? And
Absolutely.
I feel like a lot of these platforms, it sounds good at the start, and then all of a sudden, the creators themselves aren't really getting that much, and they're sort of also a slave to the system that if their account gets deleted, they've built their following on that's not actually
a centralized entity. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So that's super cool about Spencer's contract and everything. And now I'm curious on, you mentioned some good examples there of platforms that are really being able to give back to creators, and they all sort of each have their own specific, in some ways, a niche. And now with Calaxy, are you focused on, for example, athletes like Spencer or artists specifically to help connect closer to the creators, or is it more general purpose?
Yeah, I'd say we're definitely more general purpose. Obviously, our connections to sports leagues and, people that are professional athletes like Spencer is an NBA player and a good one at that, but also an advisor of ours is Ezekiel Elliott, who's one of my best friends, and we grew up together. And so obviously we started sports centric to start. But what makes us different than a lot of the competition, both Web 2 or 3, is that we don't have a single niche or a sort of skew product, right? Like the social token is designed to be power back in the hands of creators. And so there's a lot of different things and countless use cases that can be used for social tokens. Calaxy is an application layer that's been built with the functionalities of Cameo, Patreon, and OnlyFans. So you have the video message on Cameo style, right? You can send a birthday shout out to your grandma on Calaxy. You can do video calls or face-to-face calls like we're having right now in this discussion, which isn't really, mass marketed at the moment. And then you can have subscription-based content, long-form content available for your fans via the social token. And so essentially that paves way to a very diversified list of creators that might connect with their fan bases in very different ways. Whereas like Cameo makes sense for, celebrities, celebrities from yesteryears past and stuff. Nostalgic people, but not necessarily the Instagram influencer or the TikTok influencer, right? Whereas OnlyFans and Patreon kind of serve those markets. And so we want to be a one-stop shop skill or toolkit for any type of creator, whether you're a professional athlete or a middle-class creator. And honestly, the creator middle class is something that's being more and more talked about, but honestly, the biggest opportunity for us here, just because the incentive for a creator to monetize themselves is much higher for them, right? Like if you're a professional athlete, you don't have the incentive to get out of bed and do that video call to make that money the same way that an Instagram influencer or a TikToker that makes their primary means of income off the internet, the incentive that they have.
Definitely, Solo. Great point. And, you mentioned there the social token and sort of reinventing social media as well. And when I look at Patreon and these platforms that are meant to, monetize content for creators, I sort of see a lack of like the social networking compared to, Facebook and Instagram, and where there's actually a community where you can have multiple connections around. And that is like an even bigger challenge to tackle, to try to take users away from the network effects of Instagram and TikTok, where there is a lot of social community. How do you balance doing the creator monetization part, but then also making sure that it's like a socially fun place that people will come and stay there, not just use it and then leave?
Yeah, no, that's actually a great point. And we talk about this in the meeting room just about every single day. Shout out to my chief strategy officer, Rusty Matviv, as well as Cooper Coons and Chad Weston, my chief technology and chief design officers. We talk about that every single day, right? Like, how do you get people active and wanting to come into an ecosystem like this, especially if you're coming or pulling from the Web 2 universe? And I think it's really about understanding who you are, right? And so us at Calaxy, we have a very strong identity of what we are and what we want to serve. And so like we are a platform for the top 10% of a creator's fan base, like the diehard community members that want, not like everyone that follows that creator, but the diehard community members that are invested for the long term in a creator. And so we want to curate the opportunity for that creator to interact and connect with their fans in that intimate setting. And so the social tools that have been built alongside that are reflective of that. And so you have a social feed, you have the ability to post to your page and make it your own, and the ability to post exclusive content and express yourself on that channel, which is something that is lacking a lot of the other platforms that you mentioned as well. And so I think it's a combination of those things. And then just longer term philosophically, when you think about the Web3 adoption, right now the way Web3 is accessible is just if you have a wallet of some sort. You have a wallet and it takes you and gives you a gateway pass to a lot of different platforms where blockchain technology is integrated. And I think that's a strong model, but I think there is, something to be said about people who could create a platform or a service where it makes it really easy to access this type of stuff in a familiar channel. So like when you create an Instagram account, you don't need to remember a seed phrase immediately. You don't need to do these things. It's like kind of finding that perfect balance of, between centralized and decentralized. And I think what Calaxy is really focused on is finding that ideal standard for mass adoption, right? Like decentralization is something that is on a spectrum, and whether you're on a certain layer one or a layer two or a layer one, here or a layer one there, that's more centralized, more decentralized, whatever. It's really about finding the proper technology to suit the needs of what you're building.
Yeah, I like that approach, Solo, with the strategy, not just the strategy, but understanding that you know the strategy and sticking to it, and having a little bit of a niche there for the audience, and then as well about the adoption. And I don't think 100% fully decentralized with really high barriers to entry, and very technical is the way to go about it to bring the next 100 million people into Web3. You need to make it easy, and I like that you've also mentioned that, and you're focused on making sure that people can get involved, and eventually the techie ones will figure out the more technical ways of doing things in the long run. But to get people through a social platform, you really need to lower the barriers to entry to make it easy for them to connect to the creators. So I really do like that approach.
Absolutely. I think one thing that's super important, and Roham from Dapper Labs is actually an advisor to our project, and he's said multiple times, like, the biggest challenge for Web3 adoption is going to be the user experience. And so we have a guy in-house. His name's Shad Weston, like I mentioned before, our chief design officer. He wakes up and lives, breathes, and eats that user experience. Like, we want to create the most easy to use experience possible. Like, at the end of the day, the best technologies that have ever been created are the ones that created convenience and were easy to use, right? Like, if driving a Tesla was any more complicated than driving a regular car, a lot more people would be driving gas reluctantly, because gas prices are through the roof, but people would be driving gas cars nonetheless.
Definitely. And you mentioned about Dapper Labs. That's great to have them involved. At the beginning, you mentioned that you just closed a new strategic round, which is incredible. And I saw some of the names as Animoca Brands, HBAR. I'd love to dive into Hedera Hashgraph after this as well, and Polygon Studios. What can you say about this latest raise? The partners involved, and what are the next steps with that capital closed?
Yeah, absolutely. So we did raise $26 million and announced it this morning. So we're super excited about that. We have great partners on our side. So HBAR Foundation, those guys have been in our back corner for the longest period of time. Have been cheering us since before we were getting all the press that we're getting these days. So we're obviously really great to continue to keep that alignment and partnership for many years to come. Animoca, similarly, they led our last round as well. So they are, highly bullish on the idea of consumer adoption, gaming, and social, and those types of projects. So we kind of fit their arsenal really well, and their team has been nothing but great supporters for us. And we're super excited to explore the strategic options and partnership opportunities, with our investors as well. Polygon, similarly, right? Like, they've created such great brand value and equity. We can't, be thankful enough to be associated with the likes of the partners that we have. And then also, in terms of the raise that we just did, it was done via a token sale, as well as a grant from the foundation as well. In terms of how we plan to spend it moving forward, that's the $1 million question, or the $26 million question. But, ideally, we want to make sure that we continue to refine that user experience. Building mobile applications is expensive and it's hard. But we're super excited to continue to reinvest into the business and building that user experience, so that when people come in here, it doesn't feel like they're doing anything with crypto. It just feels like they're on Calaxy. And then lastly, kind of continue to build out the team and round out, and then obviously start putting some marketing dollars out there as well. We get a lot of good press just because we have a celebrity founder, but obviously want to continue to be tactful in finding the right opportunities to raise awareness about what it is we're doing.
Definitely, Solo. I'd love to hear it. And it's interesting to see, Polygon, great to hear them getting involved as well. In our last interview, we talked a bit about Hedera Hashgraph, and I'm curious on if you have any insight into, the technology backing, for the crypto people on the show, about Hedera technology and Polygon, and how it works on the back end with the blockchain, and how those technologies will be involved in the use of the application.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think to give it the very abridged version. So Hedera is our layer one. We are built on Hedera. And we chose Hedera just because of the fact that, one, it's asynchronous, Byzantine fault tolerant. We believe that the governing council is a very strong appealing point for us. That would be something that we hope to be on one day. And then we want to build where those guys are building. And then lastly, too, I think it has that perfect trade-off of being decentralized, fast, and secure, right? Like I feel like you have to kind of pick and choose, those different sliding variables. And I think Hedera has the greatest, attributes for something like what we're building in mass adoption, in consumer-facing use cases, enterprise-level use cases. So that's why we chose them. There's the Creators Galaxy protocol, which is a decentralized and permissionless layer 2 built on top of the Hedera blockchain or the Hedera distributed DLT network. And essentially, Calaxy is the first application built on top of that within that ecosystem. And so when you want to think about our tech stack and kind of what makes us different is if you're familiar with platforms like Rally or Roll, those are protocol level solutions. They don't have an application layer. It's just the technology. Calaxy is the first application layer of its kind in the social token regime that allows a creator an easy on-ramp to do this stuff. Instead of having to go to an engineering team and have them build a website to integrate your social token that you minted directly on the protocol, you can use an application that allows you to swipe your fingers a couple way and do that. And then also that lowers the barriers of entry to all different types of creators who may not have an interest or the ability to pay a team to build that type of stuff out for them specifically. And so that's kind of why we chose to build on Hedera. That's a little bit more about like our structure and how we work. And we're super excited to make it really easy for creators and people to access this technology. Like Web3's biggest affliction is the fact that it remains largely inaccessible and it requires a password. You got to know a guy if you're standing outside the club, or you need to read an entire manual to use this technology. We're in the business of making it available for everyone. So come on in.
Incredible, Solo. That's great to hear. And it's a big job to create the social networking platform. I know you guys have already been working on it for a while, and I know that there's still a lot to go as well. Maybe you can talk about where you guys are at right now, and obviously this raise is going to help take you to the next level. But what are the main things that you're sort of focused on in the near term here?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have a lot of NFT drops coming up as well. So we're super excited to facilitate and put those on. In terms of the mobile application, it's been in a public beta for the last 6 months about. And so we are super excited to open the doors this summer and allow people to come in and start minting social tokens and start connecting with their fans. We really wanted to make sure that when we did so, that your first impression is oftentimes the last impression you'll get, whether it's for better or for worse. You either got somebody for life or you don't. And so we wanted to make sure that we had that experience down quick. People are used to, Web3 is just a different user segment. I think that's what people don't really realize. When you want to get influencers, celebrities, like these people are used to using Instagram. They're used to using Twitter. They took 10 years to build something. So like if you're shipping a consumer facing product with any sort of level of, functionality or capabilities, it's going to take a little bit of time to build that. So I think from our perspective, we're really looking forward to being able to unveil those doors, open the doors, allow these creators to come in here and really enjoy their experiences. And like I said, we don't want it to be something that feels like arduous or something that's in a learning process. Really, we want it to feel at nature and really meet them where they're at. So, we're looking forward to getting out there and scoring some points real soon.
Incredible. And I did see the inaugural NFT collection drops. I think that's super cool. And I'm definitely going to share some links in the description box for people to check that out and hopefully follow along for future NFT drops as you mentioned as well, because I think those could be worth something in the future and definitely have some kind of cool extra creator value. And the public beta is, so for the NFT drops, obviously if there's going to be more, people can look for that. With the app that's live in the App Store, can people start utilizing that right now, and how else can people get involved for now and for the next steps of the platform?
Yeah, we're regularly inviting people off our waitlist into the application. And so there's a code to get in or an access key in order to get access to the beta. And so we are currently in the process of allowing fans and creators alike to test it out. Payments have been turned off just generally to make sure that we created an environment where we're getting the most data, feedback, and really building a user experience that people will love. But in the future, we're going to be continuing to let people in off those access keys. So, if you're any lucky, you can tweet the account, you can tag me or Spencer. Maybe we'll just shoot out a beta code, but we regularly invite people off the list as well. So you can access those via the website online. But like I said, sometimes people get lucky and they get in there just by having a conversation with the right person.
Very cool, Solo. And any last words on the vision and what you hope people will get out of this, and why they should look forward to start using Calaxy now?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say from our perspective, the vision is really to be the standard for personal monetization. We want to be the vanguard. We want to be the fidelity of personal monetization, whether it's Web 2 or 3. On the Web 2 side, we'd love to eventually be mentioned in the same conversations as some of those applications I mentioned before. And on the Web 3 side, we really want to define the standards for what a user experience can be, and start challenging some of those rules and those standards that have already been set by the Web 3 enthusiasts or the early adopters, right? I think we got to find that middle ground for mass adoption that makes it really easy for all types of people to come in and feel welcomed. And so if we do our job right, with the connections that we have to the creators that we know, the creators that we'll be onboarding, as well as, just the general sense of, understanding, you obviously want to aim towards product market fit, and we'll be very diligent in finding that. But it does help having, celebrity founders, people that kind of understand it, the target demographic of the people that will be using these technologies, we're quite close with, or in many times are these exact people. So we're super excited about the future, and I appreciate you for having me on the show. I appreciate the coverage, and it's definitely been a great momentous day for the Calaxy family.
Thank you so much, Solo, for coming on the show. I appreciate those kind words. I will leave the links to the Calaxy app and the website and the wait list and everything in the description box below as well. All the best with everything moving forward in Calaxy, and let's follow up in the near future.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.